Welcome to the first edition of Buzz IT. This is the show about IT on Via Cluj TV. Today, my guests are Mr. Perikles Stephanidis, if I pronounced it correctly, senior developer, software architect, and musician, and of course, IT entrepreneur. Welcome. And Professor Sebastian Văduva, PhD in International Entrepreneurship Management, and author of many books on management, on public administration, and on, of course, entrepreneurship. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Nice to have you here. My first question would be for you, Mr. Stephanidis. You work here in Cluj as an IT entrepreneur for how long?
Approximately 10 years.
So you know what happens?
In certain fields, yes.
So my question is kind of a natural one, linked to what happens here in Cluj, about what exactly are doing these all these IT guys in Cluj. Are they doing outsourcing? Are they doing product development? What is the trend right now?
Well, it's not only right now. I suppose this is more or less how it started over here. It's mainly outsourcing, we know that.
Does it have a future now, this outsourcing?
Well, it will always have. It's a required field in market in general, not only in IT. And I believe that Romania has the potential to have it like product, its own product.
That would be the next step, right? After outsourcing.
In a combination, the way I see it, like part of outsourcing and part of own product, depending on the trends of IT market in general.
About that IT trends, what are right now the trends?
Okay, speaking about Romania in particular, or in
I would like to know
context?
About Romania, because you know, we pay our dues right here.
Exactly. So there is a field of outsourcing that is stable. It remains in the top. If anybody sees also the lists of the top companies in Romania, that is either industry or it includes like international service providers like Vodafone, Orange, etc. So these won't move from their place as long as they also do business in Romania. So they will always have work and jobs to provide. But in general, the international market, which affects Romania as well, obviously moves towards anything that has to do with artificial intelligence. And there come like some very valid conclusions that have been made through time, that there are some areas that artificial intelligence will never cover completely, like individual intelligence, social intelligence, and there Romania has a very important role to play because there are good professionals here.
That was my next question. Are Romanians as good as they think they are in this field of AI? I mean, didn't we just lose this train already?
They have, in particular in the field of AI, I would say they are good professionals in IT in general. But the problem that I see is that they have been focusing for many years on the wrong technologies.
What do you mean?
As the education and preparation of most professionals in Romania, like web technologies dominate, which is obviously good and needed, but it's not what can help Romania have a clear identity in the market. You can find it anywhere, universally. It's a service that can be acquired quite easily. And I believe that for many professionals in Romania it would be good, and some movements are being made, even by the universities, to re-educate on IT, and if they do that, they should do it towards the proper technologies.
Isn't it too late to do this? Isn't it too late to do this?
No.
It's never too late.
Never too late.
Exactly.
Speaking of people and HR, and
right.
Are really Romanians that good as they say?
Absolutely, but I would like to go further back.
Please.
And you know, typically when I talk about Romanian IT, I think that the question is being posed: do you want Mr. Right or do you want Mr. Right now? In other words, we are a product of the deficiency that existed in the West. So when you take a look at technology of informatics starting back in the late 90s, it was pretty similar to what happened 100 years ago in the 19th century, where electricity started to change the way of life. Okay, so now what's happening is the entire world is being digitalized, starting with the early 1990s and on until today. So the West is just catching its breath with trying to digitalize all these things. So very interesting thing is there are not sufficient programmers in the West, in the United States of America, in Great Britain, Holland, in all those places. So this is why the IT of Romania was started, because there was not sufficient programmers out there, and that continues to be the case.
Do you think that at some point this outsourcing will just go to other countries like Ukraine or Bulgaria? Or other countries?
Absolutely, but I make a distinction between cheap outsourcing and value-added outsourcing, and I think this is what's needed. When we talk about the early 2000s, when Romanians started, we were cheap outsourcing. By and large, majority of the people that are watching us were not even allowed to interact with the final customer. The final consumer did not even know that their database was being done by somebody in Romania, because, you know, people in Romania...
It was not a shame.
Yeah, they were ashamed of it. They were ashamed of
That's
it.
why.
And that's a fact. You know, it was us and the Indians, you know. But as time's gone on, we proved ourselves, and now increasingly we're having value-added outsourcing.
The product you were saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what it is you have a lot of outsourcing companies which are growing, and they're listing themselves on the stock exchanges, and they're selling themselves, and they're doing all kinds of mergers with other companies. So they are basically integrating themselves into the international arena. And the reason they're doing that is because their people here locally, in Cluj, in other Romanian cities, are performing. Now nobody's ashamed to have their projects done in Romania. Quite the opposite. They're quite pleased with it.
They should put it on the label.
Exactly. So now all of a sudden we're talking about Romanian service, and Romanians are extremely good at troubleshooting. This is one of the things that they're very, very good at.
It comes from communism.
It comes
you
from
think?
It comes from sârma, descurcăreț. You know, so it comes to us when we are stuck with a problem. We'll figure out some way around it, and people appreciate that. And I've had clients who told me, look, I get more solutions out of people in Romania than I get out of my homegrowns from Switzerland or England, because people there are a little more rigid. They tend to be a little bit older. They tend to be more conservative. So the service providers in Romania are really making a name for themselves. Where everybody's being obsessed is, why aren't we being more product driven? And I think that the reason we're not product driven is because we don't know how to sell. We do not know what it takes to sell things online.
Thoughts on that? Do you think it's true?
It's true. The comment that you made before should possibly apply to that, from where that comes from.
The communism, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
There is something that I wanted to add that also has an impact in the local IT market here in Cluj, about the trends. That something that I see that is quite strongly happening the last years is that mid-sized and small IT outsourcing companies obviously are losing ground,
right,
because of the cheap service provided by neighboring countries. But I was very happy to find out that because we all had that fear that how much future is there in that particular field, at least until Romania becomes product driven, as you said. But that space was covered by international big companies that came here, that their clients, because they do outsourcing too, don't care that much where you are, where they are.
As long as you do the job.
Yes, and these companies actually choose the place that they go because they have the value that you talked about also, and mainly because the primary, the way I see it, thing that they care about is the general economic ground upon which they work, which, to my opinion, is still better in Romania than in neighboring countries.
Speaking about not caring about where your workforce is, I have another question about these two things: digital nomads, yeah,
Yes.
and remote working.
Right. Well,
How do you feel about it?
Is
it doable?
It doesn't matter how I feel about it. It's a reality.
True.
You know, I think that has a lot to do with the millennials as a group of individuals who really value their freedom, who are extremely mobile. They literally have no roots. Some of them don't even have rented apartments that are their own. They sort of sleep at other people's houses and they live in different countries.
How can you work with this kind of employees?
Well,
Almost employees.
Well, they are employees.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact, and this is one of the things that we do in trainings with the corporations. We tell people that life is the way it is, not the way you want it to be. Some of us who are from an older generation, we would like to have, you know, stable employees that have families that come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's not the case anymore. So you have to adapt your managerial style for this type of individuals.
What is your secret? Your secret that you're telling the companies how to keep a millennial?
What I normally say is that make sure that you have a big vision that drives them. Make sure that you do more than just, well, I'm going to give you a paycheck or I'm going to give you some money. You know, what really turns these millennials on is we're going to change the world. We're going to make a difference. So I emphasize a lot on corporate social responsibility. You know, the millennials, especially Romanian millennials, they want to see the world a better place. They care about ecological issues, they care about political issues, they care about humanitarian issues. So it is things outside of the company. They prefer a very participatory managerial style where you ask their opinion and you say, hey, we got this problem, how do you want us to solve it? You know, what's your input about it? They do appreciate the discipline, and that's a misnomer because some people say they don't want discipline. They appreciate the discipline from people they respect. So if you have a manager who earns their respect, they will accept discipline from these individuals. And they require management. You know, I hear people who say, well, these are people who are disconnected, they're scattered all over the world, so they really do not require any kind of supervision or any kind of organizational culture. Quite the opposite. They want to collaborate. They want to be part of a team. They want to feel like they're part of something. And when you see what's happening in the Romanian IT, you see the big companies that are growing even bigger because they know how to sell the organizational culture. Best example that we normally use is the Google culture. And Google was a master at doing that. Very few people know that actually the secret sauce of Google, it's its culture. People think that the secret sauce is some accidental discovery. No, when Google was a startup back in the early 2000s, late 1990s, they were faced with the same challenges that Romanian IT startups are, where they had to steal people away from companies that were paying them 2 times what they were able to afford them. And the way they stole them was through the company culture. They said, come here and we'll change the world.
Apparently a lot of Romanians do like this Google culture, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes. Look, Google was, you know, the best place to work for in the world, like 5 years in a row. You know, so it's difficult to argue with them. They're one of the top market value companies in the world. They make money. They pay people well. They innovate well. So they are really a phenomenon to be studied. They know their stuff, and they know how to work with this new generation, these nomads and these difficult people, you know, as we call them.
One of the things that is said about the millennials that they quit very quickly.
Yes.
So they quit, but they find something else in another company. So the workforce is like equal. It's not there, it's in the other place.
Right.
What do you think about the workforce here in Cluj? Is it qualified?
It is, and as it was mentioned, like they are very easy in acquiring new knowledge and using that new knowledge. There is a very strong drive of personal evolution that you see it everywhere. I don't know how much of that is in reality also driven by some kind of like global sensitivity that we are going to change the world. To be honest, I didn't see that too much, but I did see a very strong drive to evolve each one personally themselves and the ability to do it, adjust to new situations, and produce quality work.
Can we go back a little bit to software development? Where do you think Romania should head?
Yeah.
In this field of
Pull out
software
your
development.
crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly.
You like
There are so many fields, obviously, but the point is that there is one part of the market that, as we said, will always continue to exist. That's kind of regular outsourcing. There's also a lot of industry already in Romania that provides jobs for people that will possibly come in these companies and stay in these companies forever because they focus on the technologies of that company. But obviously Romania will want to establish its position at something more particular for it.
Exactly. I'm looking for what exactly in particular should we do?
And this is where the international trends come. So if things are going towards artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence, at least on the hardware part, is taken completely by Asia. I see there's a lot of work there that can be done in Romania on the software side, because there are very capable professionals. And some particular works, ideas and thinkings and studies that I did even personally myself, there comes a relationship with arts, for example, because art is individual intelligence.
Speaking of arts, not many people know, but I do, that you studied music. You're a composer. You actually studied in the United States at Juilliard,
well.
the most famous music
Congratulations.
school.
Thank
How
you.
does IT and music work together in this field?
Perfectly. It's creativity.
You'd be surprised, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how many excellent programmers I know who are accomplished musicians.
Exactly.
It's
myself as
unbelievable.
well.
So
Unbelievable.
the secret to be a good idea would be to have a start in music?
Possibly.
I think besides, and sorry to psychoanalyze them, but besides being creative, it's also the discipline that they have. My wife is a pianist, so she would be great at programming because she can sit down for 12 hours and not move.
Oh, no, that too.
And that's very important. They don't give up. They're perfectionists. They will
it's
work.
important.
Yes.
It's important. It's something very valuable that I get for myself as well, because if you would turn it into mathematics, it wouldn't be the case, because surprisingly, even though I did music and now I do IT, I was never good in mathematics. So I suppose it's everything else but that.
Yes.
But that is a field like individual intelligence and arts that can have, since you mentioned the music, a very particular thing that, although regarding arts may be generally negative, but in that case it can become positive. A thing that I noticed in music in Romania is that Romania produces, like a factory, professional musicians. It's because
Is that
of
a
the
bad
way
thing or a good thing?
from an artistic point of view, it's bad. It's because the education, it's how the education is formed in Romania. You know, you have these public music schools, so if you go inside there, you have to be a musician. That's it. Yeah, they don't deal with it as a parallel thing to go to a private institution, as they should deal with it, that like you do a foreign language. Everybody should do music, not only the one who becomes a musician. But that can become beneficial in the case of IT, because a lot of professional musicians that cannot actually be all absorbed by the market as musicians, there are a certain number of orchestras or whatever you can do, young people that they are like very interested in technology can use their artistic knowledge and combine it with technology, producing own products in Romania that are missing. And they are missing from the arts field in general.
Please.
I want to chime in on this, and I want to give a different perspective, because when the IT revolution was brought to the world, this was late 70s, early 80s, it was really steeped in the Californian culture, where we're going to have, you know, the hippies, the world changer, and we're going to bring democracy. And life is going to be beautiful, and we're going to keep the government out, and it's going to be freedom, and it's going to be flower power by and large. Fast forward 40 years today, and what you see is a consolidation of the IT industry, which would be enviable by the moguls of the 19th century. In other words, you have monopolies. You have 5 companies that basically dominate the whole world. You got your Google, you get your Facebook, you get your Amazon, you get your Apple, and a few other. Microsoft is still in that list, although I disagree with it. So what's happening is you're having a tremendous consolidation, and the way these companies are competing in terms of traditional IT software development is they are very proprietary. Okay, so then the question is, all right, well, what can the average programmer do? What can the Romanian programmer do? I don't think it's so much as, well, I'm going to invent a new app, or I'm going to invent a new software which is going to compete with the Google. Best case scenario, Google is going to buy it from you if you're happy, if you're lucky.
Which is fine, exactly.
Which is fine. Which is fine if they'll buy it from you and use it. Oftentimes they buy it from you just so they can neutralize it.
And at a fair price.
And a fair price, thank you. So increasingly where I see the trends of the market happening in Romania and in generally is in technology utilization. And the sector that we have in Romania and we're known for worldwide is security. Because, and again, this is not something we like to brag about, but a lot of hackers are of Romanian descent. You have a place like Râmnicu Vâlcea, which is Hackerville. You know, you have an FBI office in Râmnicu Vâlcea.
Yeah.
Way back when, you know, this is in the late 1990s, when somebody was hacked, they used to say, "You've been kludged." Literally, that was a term. That was a term in America. You've been kludged. It means that you've been hacked. Somebody from Cluj must have broken into your account, stolen money, or whatever. So I think that security is and can become a huge thing. The other one, and this is where I think we're missing the trend, is we need to take the IT and we need to apply it to the other fields. So for example, IT applied in medicine, IT applied in chemistry. And again, these are fields that we are very strong in, historically speaking, as a nation. What I would like to see is the IT industry stop being a silos, you know, thinking just in terms of, I'm this huge big tower, you come to me, I'll do your program, tell me what you need, and I'm gone. I would love them to become a platform. And I'd like them to sort of lower themselves and go to all these sectors, medicine, arts, entertainment, education, and say, okay, how can we help you digitalize? How can we help the people from the educational industry utilize technology so they can do things differently? Because the fact of the matter is, traditional computer programming is going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. There are currently programs and software which can write basic code. So if you as a computer
learn
and learn to
and
do
adapt.
it, exactly,
Yes.
And they're free of charge. Right, so you don't have to pay,
them, yeah.
benefits, you don't have to get them coffee machines and massages and all kinds of things. So it's less expensive. So obviously a company has an invested interest to put into it. Plus you need to understand the economics of technology. To whom has it, much will be given, and to whom does not have it, it will be taken away. So the nature of the industry is to consolidate, is to concentrate. If you don't concentrate, you have a problem.
Gentlemen, I think we had a glimpse of the future right now, right?
We hope so.
Thank you very much for being here in our first show, Buzz IT.
We thank you.
And we would like to have you some other time.
Thank you very much.